So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another great spotlight session. Today we have Tom Cahill of New Jersey Septic Management Group, who's going to do a two-part series covering everything we need to know about septic from beginning, middle, and end. Also answering my biggest question of what the heck's a cesspool? So I have no idea what that is. So I'm excited for this presentation, and I hope you guys are too. I will let I'm going to share my screen, and I'll let Tom take it away. Let's share this. Boom.
Thank you, Tom, for rushing to get.
And here we go. Can everyone see?
Do better.
Okay.
The people don't see me or just that screen?
No, they see you too.
Oh, what is?
Yeah, so you get a little bit of both, and they can hear you. So you are good to go.
I appreciate that. Good morning. My name is Tom Cahill. I'm the septic inspection supervisor for New Jersey Septic Management Group. As of next month, I'll be with this company for 20 years, actually.
Wow.
At this point, I'm doing this part-time, 3 days a week, and it's working out nicely. I spend my time talking to people. It's interesting. I get to answer all the questions as the old guy that's been around for a little bit. We're here to present our first offering. It's introduction to septic systems, basically. We're talking about the essential topics, and the company has been around actually just a few years before I joined them. I had previously been the septic manager for Russell Reed and came over to Septic Management Group. It was a nice transition. And we have been doing this for a long time. We provide, New Jersey Septic Management Group provides any and all services related to septic systems. We do inspections. If people would like repairs, we can help with that. We don't in any way, there's no conflict of interest in that. There's no push, no shove. We can do what's necessary. We are experts in all of it. But again, if anyone has issues with the follow-up from inspections to repairs, no problem. We often do repairs as a follow-up to other people's inspections. Along with that, we have a very good management program. I've got some accessories to show you about things that people can add, homeowners can add to help to extend the lives of their septic systems. So we'll get into the details. We'll begin with a basic introduction. The course overview here, beginning with there's no reason to fail septic systems or even be really concerned. And that's important for you to understand so you can help your clients, the home buyers, to understand there are people coming from city sewers that have never lived with a septic system and have some concern about what it's about. There are companies like ours and others that can help to manage them, to keep them from becoming problems. And there are benefits to having a septic system that we'll get into, actually, and reasons why people should consider it. The second section, we will talk about cesspools and why they cannot be transferred to property owners, buyers. That's an important thing. Essentially, they're older style wastewater systems. And then we'll get into the actual septic systems themselves, individual components and operation, talk about the old septic code versus the newer septic code changes that have happened and why the more updated code is actually of benefit to us. And then we'll start to talk about individual kinds of systems, beginning with these raised mounds. Some of you dealing with properties maybe have seen these mounded drain fields. When you leave here, you're going to understand what that's about and be able to explain that to your customers. It really makes a world of difference. Okay, so we'll jump in. First of all, as far as no reason to fear septic systems across the United States, over 60 million people live with septic systems. Now, as you can see from this map of the US, the majority of septic systems are actually in the eastern part of the country. That dark color, the black, represents more than 40%. Those states have more than 40% of their homes on septic systems. And the reality is there are a lot of septic systems throughout the country. It's rare to find any states with none whatsoever. Even the white states are 10 to 25%. It's not as if they don't exist. Interestingly, Hawaii is covered with cesspools, basically holes in the ground that dump the sewage in there. And they're going crazy,
Oh,
overwhelming, dealing with updating and repairing that, because essentially that's all jumping into the ocean.
oh,
Real problem when you're on an island and you're dumping sewage into a hole in the ground. So it's interesting how they're updating everything. So again, over 25% of the population, more than 26 million homes across the country are on septic systems. They're not such a rarity. Next slide, please. The last time the US Census actually gave us an idea of how many homes were listed, actually the New Jersey Census, I should say, were attached to septic systems was 1990. Back then, they said there were 372,113 septic systems throughout the state. Again, 1990. Since then, the New Jersey Census no longer talks about plumbing connections in a home. We don't actually know what the numbers are now. But if we extrapolate from 1990 to 2020, there was an increase of 12.1% in the number of households. If that same increase was involved with septic systems, there would then be 439,000. Now, if you consider that number, that's pretty big. However, since 1990, and here we are this day. 1990 is not yesterday already. We moved beyond that. But since 1990, it was reported that an increasing percentage of new homes is connected to septic systems. So if that increase was simply a 16%, there will be 581,800 septics. If it was a 20% increase, 727,250 septics. But if it was possibly a 30% increase, there would be over 1 million septic systems. I can tell you personally, 2 engineers that we work with are absolutely sure that there are over 1 million septic systems throughout New Jersey. So when we're talking to homeowners and we're thinking septic systems, because the area we work in here has a minimal percentage, this county particularly. There are other counties that have a very high percentage. We're going to get into that next, actually. But it's interesting to see the differences county by county. And the idea that there could be over 1 million throughout the state, that's a fairly high number. They're not inconsequential by any means. Now, I'm sorry, can we go back to that?
Sorry.
I just want to point out, this upper county is Sussex County. There are over 60% of homes connected to septics in Sussex County. Warren County is 43%. If we get into Hunterdon County is a fairly high percentage too. That's close to 42%. It's amazing. Then we go down into South Jersey. These 2 counties, they both have 41 and 42%. The rest of these white counties in the state are 7 to 10% on septic systems. So every county in the state has septic systems. It's just a question of, basically, it has a lot to do with metropolitan areas. When we have cities, around the Newark area, all of that, it's actually closer to 1% because you have city sewers. When you're a big congestion, then it's less septic systems, fewer septic systems, and more sewer connections. We can change that. I'm sorry. Thank you. So this is a basic idea about city sewers. We have a large congregation of homes, and when they're close together like that, it makes perfect sense. The communities will get together. They'll connect everything underground. There are pump stations involved. There's a sewer treatment plant. Now, the municipality will charge a fee to maintain that. They'll charge that fee to the homeowners. And the trick is they deal with chemicals to treat the sewage. And when they release, there's occasional flooding concerns because that release dumps a large volume of water to streams and rivers, and it can cause local flooding. When we have a large amount of homes together, big congregation, sewers make perfect sense. Now, when the homes are spread out, as the next slide, we have individual septic systems where within the home, all the sewage goes to a septic tank, which then empties into some type of drain field, disposal bed. And that's an individual thing that literally you can be miles apart with the individual homes, or several side by side, each with their own septic system. They're not interconnected. It allows for people to live on their own, be self-sufficient, and there are no municipal fees attached. Your fees for septic systems have to do with maintenance, meaning periodic pumping, and occasionally, if a problem results, you have to clear some lines or do some standard maintenance. And there are companies such as ours and others that provide that regular maintenance to keep them functioning 100% all the time. So we'll get into the details here. That's the general idea of, again, the idea that septic systems are not this big, scary unknown that people have to be worried about. And we've got some good literature in these folders to help you work with your clients in relation to that.
Tom,
Yes.
Get out of there.
Yes.
Will the municipality or the county will regulate to a degree how often you have to clean because they're not involved, so that is up to the owner?
Interestingly, individual communities, some have such regulations, like Montgomery Township requires 3-year pumping for a septic system. They require homeowners to pump. Most communities that we deal with do not have such regulations, requirements. They leave it up to the homeowner to decide. So it's an interesting situation. Now, in general, when you have mom and dad living with a couple of kids, it's typically recommended from the state DEP. Typically, the recommendation for pumping is every 3 years for a family of 4. When you have more than that, obviously you would pump more frequently. And the idea is, if we can see from this photo here, this is showing us a modern 2-compartment septic tank. And we'll get into more of this. But the sewage from the house, all wastewater goes out through that sewer line. And when it enters here, now, the majority of wastewater leaving the home is water. Honestly, 92% of liquid leaving the home is water. Only 8% is solid material, sewage. If you consider when we flush the toilet, we have the solids, the paper, whatever is flushed. The solids slowly accumulate. If there's one compartment, it just fills the one compartment. In this case, 2-compartment tank is shown. So the brown materials on the bottom of the sewage solid is filling up. But if the tank was pumped out and empty, the water component fills that tank within a week and a half, at which point water begins spilling over out the delivery pipe into the drain field. Sewage accumulates slowly over time so that in 3 years, that tank needs pumping again. The sewage component, the solids, are not filling up that quickly. It's water that comes up and spills out. So it's interesting, when we pump out a tank, it's empty. The water in a week and a half is already flowing out to the drain field, which is great because the grass isn't dying over the drain field. It's getting within the drain field, the septic water is close to the surface. 1/3 of it evaporates through the surface, feeding the grass. Anybody here have a septic system? Typically, when there's a time of drought, your septic drain field is the one green area in the whole property because it's getting constant water. You can see where the roots are fed constant water from the septic system. Well, that's the story. That's not about a failing system. It's a functioning septic system. We, as inspectors, we know we'll go out to a product. There's your septic. We're like, how do you know? Well, there's certain things that we know about. In the wintertime, you're surprised to see that the lid is always uncovered by snow. The snow melts because there's heat inside. The bacteria action, the digestion of the sewage in that tank generates heat. That lid is always warmer than the outside air. In the wintertime, any pumper can go up to the property and go right to the lid if it's close to the surface because the snow melts over a lid. It's always interesting. And those of us that have done this forever, we know it. Like, well, I walk around and go, how did you know that? Well, little stupid tricks like that. It helps make a difference. All right, next slide, please. So, cesspools.
Oh,
Here we go.
here we go.
In the beginning days of this country, we would need a place to dump our wastewater. When they finally began to put plumbing fixtures, a sink, whatever, inside the house, they would run the pipe to the exterior and literally dig a hole and line that hole with stone, field stone. Later, using blocks, cinder blocks. Next slide. Eventually, even bricks. cinder blocks, even poured concrete or more modern cesspools. But keep in mind, the idea is it's literally a hole in the ground, just lined to provide a void that's not caving in, that the wastewater, sewage, toilet paper, liquids are just dumping into. That includes fats, greases, chemicals, any and all waste from the home dumping into a hole in the ground. There's no treatment. There's no protection anyway. So for the longest time in our history, that was how we dealt with wastewater. In the 70s, actually, began the septic codes in New Jersey. That recently, it's really incredible. And that was part of the overall health codes of the state initially. Now it's more strict, more concerned, and a code exists by itself. But what they started doing immediately is providing a separate drainage area. So a solid tank is now a part. A septic tank is solid, allowing no drainage that holds the sewage materials and whatever chemicals, whatever, and liquids flow out to a drain field. Is the big difference, and that's the change. Without a separate drain field, this being just a hole in the ground lined with stone or brick is a cesspool that allows contamination of the groundwater. That's why they're no longer allowed. And when you transfer a property, if a property has a cesspool, it cannot be transferred. That must be updated to a modern septic system because this, an active cesspool, allows for a constant contamination of the groundwater.
Got it.
We have some groundwater on top
Got
of
it.
it.
We sure don't. Big
Right.
change.
And that could also cause like, you need like soil remediation, things like
Oh,
that
yeah.
from,
So this is just a
Right.
wastebasket.
Yes.
Basically,
It really
is
was.
basically a
Yes.
wastebasket on the floor.
Yeah, it's and for again now for the longest time, in the older times, people had no way to dispose of their wastewater. This was a step above. It's like out of sight, out of mind in the ground. Like, and then they start thinking like, well, wait a minute now, what's going on down below ground and what's happening? Let's follow up on this. And it took them some dozens of years before they started thinking, whoa, okay, we can do better. And now we do better, and these are essentially outlawed.
wow.
For a time when the code was updated, so there have been updates of the septic code. The one that I was a part of in 1990, I was a part of the DEP commission. They created the septic inspection standards in the state. I've been a licensed health inspector since '86. Interestingly, when we talk to our clients, a lot of times people buying homes weren't alive when I got my license. So some of my references, I'll talk about a distribution box being about the size of a bread box. These kids don't know what the hell a bread box is. So I'll talk about, well, two computer monitors. In my mind, I'm thinking old fat computer monitors. They're thinking computer monitors are half-inch thick. No, it's a fat boy. So my references are old style, but
Quick question.
yes.
So, of course, we're going to see a lot less of this out there,
Yes.
but would the combination of a newer house will have a cesspool, or it will be more of a combination of a cesspool older house? Because New Jersey and we're in real estate, we see a lot of houses are definitely old. I mean, there's very few new construction somewhere. So now what we sell and what we buy is primarily old houses. So the primary focus is just that we will see cesspools there.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
I would tell you, septic code was updated in 1990, at which time the code read any cesspools that are found to be in failure. Oh, not just cesspools, but privies. Some people had outhouses, still functioning outhouses on property, and we'll still see them today.
I sold a house with an outhouse.
And so in 1990, the code said if they're not functioning properly, they must be updated. Still allowed them. In 2012, April 2nd, 2012, the septic code was updated again. Now, 2012, that wasn't yesterday. That's already been some time. To the point that next year the code's being updated again, and things are going to get stricter. Yeah, every once in a while we have new updates.
Well, that's good.
Yes, it is.
But did you have an idea what is coming? During
Yes,
that
yes.
change?
And we're happy for some of the changes, but In 2012, the code said, I have to excuse myself, just 1 minute. I'm dealing with sciatica, and I was wondering if I can pull over one of those high stools.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm not gonna take your seat.
No, it's okay.
It's just once in a while, I gotta stretch it out and sit in, and,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come hang out with us.
I don't wanna collapse on the floor in front of
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay, have a seat. Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway, when the code was updated in 2012, it then stated, whereas 1990 said, if they're presenting problems, they must be updated. 1990 said, no, we realize that these are continuing to contaminate the groundwater, even though supposedly functioning properly. And so now, since 2012, it says they must be updated to modern septic systems. There's nothing that allows cesspools to continue these days. They must be updated to a modern septic system. For a while, what was indicated is they could still be shared with a family member. If you sell to a family member, it's okay to have a cesspool. That's no longer allowed. That hasn't carried forward. And it used to also say they could also be allowed for government agencies. If the government agency owned the property, cesspools were okay. Wait a minute, you're okay to contaminate the groundwater on a government property? How did that make any sense? Now they all must be updated. So that's good. That's where we stand.
Okay.
Okay. So now we'll start to talk about modern septic systems.
So they should be the minimum.
Yes.
Or the less.
Yes, there on a regular basis, there are fewer and fewer cesspools.
Oh,
That's what we hope to find. And if we're doing a septic system inspection for buyers and a cesspool is found, it's very clear that it must be replaced with a modern septic system.
And how much do you think that would cost on average? I know there's a lot of variations there, but
Yeah,
average.
it certainly depends on the conditions in the ground, but typically you're looking at 40 to 50 some thousand. 53,000 is the top limit most of the time. On rare occasions, you might approach 60, but that's unusual, very difficult. I mean, heavy clay and all kinds of, the worst case scenario. Typically, you're looking at, I'd say upper 40s to low 50s, that range. So if you said 50, the medium, that's pretty good.
Okay.
For a whole septic system, and we'll start to talk about that. Now, again, this slide, just giving the more information, this is actually the details of what I just said. This is what the cesspool looks like under the ground surface. So you have the porous sidewalls, whether it's stone or block, and literally there's an open bottom. And the crap, the junk, is all the chemical, everything and anything from the house is sitting in the ground and just slowly seeping down and messing everything up. And it just allows liquid to drain out. And now that is no longer allowed. Now a septic tank is a solid container that holds everything. So again, we had first in 1990, if they were a problem, they had to be replaced. Now, since 2012, they must all be replaced, period. And 2012 has been some time already. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. So the rules, septic code, our modern septic code began January 1st, 1990. When we say modern septic code, there was an older code that was literally part of the health code in New Jersey before they separated it out and made it a separate code by itself. Standards for individual subsurface sewage disposal system. Interestingly, that's how we know the septic code. Standards for individual subsurface sewage disposal system. We refer it in the business, we say the septic code. The word septic system does not exist in that 100 and some pages. The word septic system does not exist. They describe them as individual subsurface sewage disposal system. ISSDS is the common part in our health division. What's that ISSDS? So obviously it's a lot easier to say septic system. Again, it was first approved in 89, took effect in 90. It had been revised and approved April 2nd, 2012. And again, next year, there'll be a revision. And a lot of us have been giving input to the DEP. Those of us that work with these systems and codes on a regular basis, we are allowed to give regular input. We have regular communication with the DEP. And hopefully there'll be some good changes up and coming that'll only make things better for everyone all around. Two key components of any wastewater treatment system is the treatment tank, number one. Most of the time people think of that as a septic tank. More modern systems also have an aerobic tank. That's an actual more efficient treatment tank than it used to be. And we'll get into the details of what that means and what we're looking at. That's the primary stage of wastewater treatment. All the wastewater from the home. Yes.
I know you're on page 10, you're probably gonna hit this up by page 20, but I'll be gone by then.
Okay.
You mentioned that you do give input to the state.
Yes.
Is there any way the septic companies out there could get together and tell the state all new septic should be in the front yard? Because these backyard ones, eventually, they all fail. Eventually, you gotta put them above ground. Eventually, you ruin your yard. If they were all in the front yard, you get a landscape around that big bump that's there anymore and still have your backyard to use.
Well, there are actually a number of we're not going to skip forward. We're just going to deal with that question. There are a number of reasons why a septic is located where it is. It has to do with restrictions. It has to be the septic tank, septic drain field have to be a certain distance from different components. Certain distance from the driveway, certain distance from the front of the home, certain distance from the street, the curb, the well. Often wells are at the front of the
Well,
home.
you gotta be 100 feet from a well.
Yes, so the septic system can't be there if the well's there. I mean,
But they can
that's
put the well, if it's new construction, they can put the well in the back. If it's available.
not typically. There are reasons for well placement too. It's you have distances on other properties that you have to look at. And I just in terms of that mound in the backyard that you're talking about, that's nothing to do with it being in the backyard. The raised mound, we're going to get into this later, but the raised mound is typically because there is water in the ground and you have to be certain distance above groundwater
Right.
for the septic drain field. That's why there's a raised mound, because that particular property has a high water table. Therefore, we have to raise up above it that we're not contaminating the water
How
table.
low does that water table have?
Well, actually, we need to be able to have a 4-foot differential between the bottom of the septic drain field and the water table. So if the water table is close to the surface, we've got to raise that up above.
On average, how low is the bottom of that drain?
Bottom of the drain field, when we're looking at the drainage stone, that's a good 12 to 20 inches. Then we have 4 foot of drainage gravel underneath that. We're talking almost, it could be almost 6 feet. That thick.
6 feet?
So then we want the water table to be below that. If the water table is closer, now we've got a mound. And we'll get into that and show pictures to explain that. But there are reasons for the placement, and I know it's not always convenient. And
Well, it's just all the repair stuff, like.
yes.
Let's face it, if something was built in the 50s, 60s, it's failed.
Generally, that's true, but I can tell you that it's very clear to us that there are occasions where we'll do an inspection and find some old timers really did an amazing job of building bigger, better, draining forever. And sometimes we'll go in and find a 55-year-old system that's going strong and functioning. There's no failure based on age alone. It all has to do with functionality.
Okay.
Cool.
I guess you need a high water table for all that sand and everything in the leach field to blend out and get mixed in with
You
dirt.
would prefer that there's not a high water table, so the bacteria or the germs that are coming through the wastewater are basically being captured by microbes in the soil. And that's how it's filtered before it joins the water table. So the deeper the water table, the better on the septic system proper.
Gonna jump again on you, I don't wanna ruin your presentation.
That's not a problem. I'll answer any and all questions. I've dealt with all of this stuff.
You know, a leach field.
So,
You know, let's say, why can't they sometimes, why, maybe it's because of water table, you're telling me now, but. If the tank's fine, the D box is fine, the leach field is all mixed up with dirt now and everything else, why can't they just dig that out and redo a leach field? Without having to remodel the whole system?
I would tell you that that happens on a regular basis. When we do inspections, we break down the system components. If the tank is good, septic tanks can last 50 years. They're 4.5-inch solid concrete that can last a long time. Now, what really hurts that is salts. If you have a water softener system in a home and it's discharging its backwash, high salt content into the septic system, that will eat up a tank, eat up a distribution box. Distribution box is the beginning of the drain field. We'll see pictures soon. Anyway, a distribution box is size of a big bed box. and again, that's 2.5 inch thick. Typically, at 16 years, they start deteriorating. At 20 years, they're dissolving in the ground. If you start dumping salt water into it, it eats that up so fast. So 2.5 inch thick concrete certainly doesn't last as long. The 4.5 inch for the tank is bad enough. But again, a septic tank can last 50 years, but with a water softener backwashing into it, it does not last that long. So we constantly talk about, currently, the codes in the state allow water softener backwash to dump into a septic system. We've gotten a lot of information to the state, article after article, about why this should not happen. And with the changes in the code coming next year, we're hoping that that will be one change to get that salt water out of the system to help it to last longer. But you can destroy a tank, destroy a D-box, and the drain field can still function. Sometimes the drain field will be bad, and the septic tank is good for a long time. Typically, you'll replace the drain field at the half-life of the tank, and then it'll go again. The tank can last through 2 drain fields typically. So we don't replace tanks first and then drain fields the other way. Drain fields clog and get mucked up fairly quickly.
So the only thing really that drain field from being replaced individually would be water tank.
Yes, sir.
Then I gotta get in a whole new system with a pump up and everything.
That's right. Except we're going to get into showing you when and why that's not even a problem anymore with modern technology.
Okay.
Cool.
So after the tank, we have the absorption area or drain fields, disposal bed, disposal trenches, seepage pits, all kinds of drain fields exist. And that's the final stage of treatment. So within the tank, the wastewater from the home goes into the tank. The heavy stuff that we see flushing down with toilet paper goes down to the bottom, settles. That's the sludge building up on the bottom, and bacteria slowly eating that up, breaking it down. As it breaks down, the little particulates are coming up and flowing out with the water out. Water is constantly flowing as we turn on the tap. Water is flowing through the tank, taking those little particulates out. They're going out to the drain field. There are live bacteria, all kinds of bugs all over in the ground that are acting like little Pac-Man, grabbing and digesting all those sewage particulates as they go out to the drain field. So that's how a septic system, by having that different stages of treatment, the heavy sewage goes in the tank, slowly it breaks down, slowly the liquid carrying the small particulates as it breaks down into the drain field. And in the drain field, that first couple of feet in the soil, all the live bacteria are grabbing, capturing, digesting. So by the time it gets through the first 4 feet, then the next 4 feet, it's clean enough to join the water table without contamination. So we need that separation to know that we're not contaminating the water table. And in the past, again, cesspools would dump directly to the water table and cause contamination. So that's the difference. Okay, next slide, please. So a septic tank made of concrete these days, sometimes fiberglass and poly now. In the old days, in the 60s and 70s, we'd run into a lot of steel tanks. Steel in the ground would corrode and collapse. And after a while, they had the idea that steel will last forever, you know, big, strong, and it really gets eaten up pretty bad in the ground. So no longer steel tanks. The concrete is typically what we like to work with. We've tried the fiberglass and even the poly, and to our mind, you bury them in the ground, there's deflection. The soil is very heavy and a lot of pressure, and no matter how they design and what they say, and it's engineer approved and all, we prefer the concrete. It's really substantial and can last. Again, if you can get 50 years, that's a nice life for that. You know, that can go multiple homeowners sometimes, you know, they can pass it along there. Tanks are determined, the size of the tank, by the number of bedrooms, nothing to do with bathrooms. You can have 19 bathrooms in a house, doesn't change the size of the septic tank. The more bathrooms just means there's more convenience, more possibility for people. Oh, I can go here, I can go there. It nothing to do with the number of people in the home. The number of bedrooms is the thing that determines, they count people. And that's, the people are generating sewage. And so the number of bedrooms is what's used to determine the size of the tank. That's how it goes. So as the middle section indicates, the regulated 250 gallons per bedroom means a 4-bedroom home requires a 1,000-gallon tank. 5 bedrooms, 1,250, 6 bedrooms, 1,500. Now, some municipalities are stricter. East Brunswick, for instance, requires 2 tanks in series. They're not happy with the code. Individual communities can be stricter. East Brunswick says, all right, that first tank is good. Give me a second one so we know the water's real clean getting out to the drain for last forever. Hopewell Township actually requires
That's crazy.
Hopewell Township requires 250. So on top of this, Hopewell requires an additional 250 gallons. Again, a bigger tank to just be sure.
Mhm.
Again, individuals, towns can be stricter than this state. They
So-
can't be less
so-
strict.
So it could be 1,000 gallon tank plus another 250, or the tank has to be 1,250 for.
You cannot have anything smaller than 1,000.
Mm.
That's the way that the code currently reads.
No, but for.
No, for the longest time.
For whole well, for example,
Yes.
it will be, you said
That's
that.
12, instead of, if there's 4 bedrooms
Yeah.
throughout the state, they'd say 1,000 gallons good. Hopewell says 1,250 if
Got it.
necessary.
So for a 3-bedroom house, that would still be 1,000-gallon
Must
tank.
be 1,000, nothing less than.
Ah.
And that's actually a recent change. For the longest time, we would work with 350-gallon tanks. Yeah, a 2-bedroom apartment. Why does
I
it
mean,
need
there's a
such a big
million
tank?
3-bedroom houses in New Jersey, so.
Yeah.
And we would have 500-gallon tanks, 750-gallon. And fairly recently, the code now says nothing smaller than 1,000. And the reason for that, if we look at this, getting into the weeds a little bit, but when we look from end to end in terms of the length of this, if it's a smaller tank, the wastewater would tend to go right out and not allow time for settlement. To allow time for the heavy stuff to settle and separate and liquids to flow out, they've determined that you need a certain length or distance. It took forever to find that, to figure that out.
Hmm.
Back in the early 70s, I was on a job with the head of the DEP, the guy who helped to write the codes for the state. And he was telling me, you know, Tom, as long as septic tanks are the way they are, septic systems are going to fail real soon. And all we need to make them better. We need help to last longer. And now we've done that by being larger, by allowing that settlement. So water is going out instead of all the sewage material. Sewage material is going out will clog the drain field and kill it sooner. So
Mhm.
if liquids are going out, the drain field will last longer, and everybody say we're saving money, and things last a lot longer. It makes a world of difference. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, of course.
So if something is well maintained, is there such thing as grandfathered in? Or would it, no matter what, has to be updated to 1,000 gallons?
Oh, there are plenty of homes that have smaller tanks
Okay.
that
that's
are allowed to
illegal.
continue. Yes, there's regular testing done, certainly exchange of properties. And if it's shown to be functioning fine, there's no requirement to update
Okay.
what is. It's only newer
Newer,
ones are required
okay.
to. There are older systems with smaller tanks. And I can tell you though, typically with the smaller tank, the drain field won't last as long because
Yeah.
again, stuff's going out there sooner. But depending on the usage, maybe the smaller tank is because, hey, little old lady living by herself with 1 grandson, whatever, and minimal usage means minimal sewage, and therefore it could last a long time. So the family living there has everything to do with how long it's going to last. We will do inspections and find a typical 1,000-gallon tank to a normal drain field for a 4-bedroom home, and there's 11 people living there.
Yeah.
I don't know what particular ethnicity or where or how or whatever, but it's a overload big time. And guess what? That system's not doing very well because it was not meant to handle that many people that much. And I said 11, but honestly, 5 or 6 is beyond what it's designed for. It makes a difference. When we do inspections, we'll look at all of those variables to be sure. So within a septic tank, the top layer, the floating materials that's called the scum layer. That's fat, hair, grease, toilet paper, the materials that float on the surface. When you first open the lid, you'll again, looks like, oh my God, it's full. That's just the stuff floating on the surface. You can stare at it and see it's liquid, mostly liquid.
Not like this though.
Yeah.
We have close.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what we put our hands into.
Oh, no.
We have chemical cleaners we work with regularly in between jobs, and in between we're constantly sanitizing. Anyway, the heavy sewage goes to the bottom, and that's the sludge that's dropped down and slowly breaking down. And again, slowly that breaks down and the little particulates come up and will flow out. And the clear effluent is that liquid that's constantly flowing. You turn on the tap in the house, water in, water out, water in, water out. And little by little, it's carrying that material out. Little by little, the scum, fat, hair, grease, toilet paper is floating. When the pumper comes, he puts his hose in. He starts by sucking all that off the top. Then he slowly starts mixing this material. So he takes it all out as a liquid form and pumps it out.
Mhm.
Next slide. These are components in the septic tank. On the surface, we have a lid. Underneath the lid is a riser. Typically, it's like a round chimney that brings the lid up to the surface. For older systems, the lids were often buried. Really difficult to have the tank pumped when the lid is buried, and often homeowners don't know where it is. And if they do know where it is, what a pain in the neck to dig that off 1 to 2 feet deep every time. So it's actually required to have that lid up to the surface these days. There are ports that are available. Newer tanks have ports. You open the cap, you can look down inside the baffle and clear blockages. In this case, we use a port at the outlet to actually pull out and clean a filter. Since 2012, the septic code was updated to require filters at the outlet baffle. The wastewater enters through here and it goes through all of these layers before it comes out, going out to the drain field. Captured. So all this particular bacteria, everything going out is captured. So we're ensuring that mostly clear liquid is going out. And when I show you this filter, my boss isn't real happy because this is a nasty photo of what that we pull that are capturing all the small particulates.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Ain't real pretty.
That goes-
There's no smell
that
attached there.
goes grace when my breakfast.
This one, we clean these
Yikes.
filters twice a year, every 6 months, typically clean them, and it captures the food materials.
Yum.
But that's, all that stuff is not going to the drain field, so the drain field's gonna last longer, it's not clogging. This is what we have.
That's amazing.
Enjoy, my
Mine.
friend.
Can you guys see this?
What about like disposals?
Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes, yes.
Garbage,
Yeah, garbage disposal.
Okay.
there's a strict law
Yeah,
about
not-
that. in
not
Montgomery
pretty.
Township. They will fine you if there's one.
Okay.
Garbage disposals grind up sewage material, not sewage material, garbage material, and too much stuff swirling and mixing. If there's no filter, it will go out and clog the drain field quickly. If there's a filter, it'll clog that filter big time, and that's a problem. That's a problem.
Okay.
So there are several communities, Montgomery being one of them, that will fine you if they find there's a garbage disposal present with a septic system. It's tough. When we do,
Makes
when
sense.
we do septic inspections and the buyers have lived with municipal sewers forever, not familiar with septic systems, we always do a nice Zoom review after our inspections where we talk to people and help to educate them about what it is to live with a septic system. And we'll explain that, have you lived with a garbage grinder, garbage disposal? Oh, yes, of course. And we hope put one, it's like, no, you don't want to do that with a septic system. We explain why and what the difference is. It's a very nice review we always do after our inspections. So with this tank here, we have the inlet baffle, the wastewater from the home. This is the sewer line coming in. It hits the baffle directed down. That forces the heaviest stuff to settle. Liquid comes up and fat hair grease comes to the top. And again, since the tanks are now a certain size, that settlement allows that separation as opposed to it just washing out. The filter stops a lot of that stuff from going out. And we offer a service program twice a year. Every 6 months, we come in and do an overview of the system, kind of give a mini report card about how it's working. And part of that is we will pull the filter and clean it. If it's not done, it will get bad enough that it will clog and cause a backup. Either the sewage will come out the lid or back to the home. You need to clean the filter. We do have some homeowners that will clean their own filter. Some adventurous souls that like, yeah, like good for you, man. Because you know it can be kind of nasty. A lot of people don't want to deal with all that nastiness. But
I'm assuming they're plumbers already.
Adventure So.
Or just DIYers, you never know.
Yeah.
People want to save a couple
There's
bucks.
no way I would do that.
There are plenty, it's more often than not the husband. I
Mhm.
can't say that I find many wives that would do it.
I build, my husband, he's IT, so,
Okay.
this not happening.
It's pretty nasty. There's a stink involved too.
Okay.
But the filter goes a long way.
Oh,
Now,
really? I thought it would smell like.
let me
roses.
tell you, along with that, just since we're on the topic, that service program that we offer to homeowners, and again, it really helps those that are unfamiliar with septic systems. That service program, every 6 months we clean the filter, we do an overview, like you want to adjust this, or maybe you want to consider pumping more frequently. Again, we'll clean the filter. We will also, at that time, every 6 months, measure to see how the sewage is accumulating, and we can tell them, depending on the number of people in your home, how frequently should you pump the tank? All right, another 6 months, another 3 months, or you can go 2 more years, and by dipsticking or measuring the tank
Mhm.
separately. When we do that service program, we add Bio1. This is a live bacteria product that helps to break down the sewage and digestion. We've done a lot of testing, and this bacteria product, when we clean the filter every 6 months, we add a few ounces of this to the tank to add to the bacteria action to break down and digest everything. When we pump the tank every 2.5 to 3 years, depending on how it's accumulating, depending on how many people are in the home creating the sewage, we put a half gallon of this live bacteria because we've pumped out all the liquids from here. A lot of that is live bacteria from your gut that nature provides to help break down sewage. We've pumped all that out. So we're adding live bacteria to the tank to begin breaking down the process.
Mhm.
Putting the half gallon in here, we provide the homeowner the other half gallon every few weeks. You put some of this in a different drain in your house, keeps the drains fresh, clean, smelling, and they never clog, never break down. You never have to buy drain cleaner. All of the drains, you put it in the drain, let it sit overnight, and turn the tap on and flush it through like any drain cleaner. And again, the live bacteria ends up in the tank, it's small bacteria, ends up through the filter, helps to keep the filter cleaner longer, but ultimately helps the drain field to last longer. This goes a long way toward extending the life of the drain field. A good product. And we offer this to all of our customers on a regular basis.
May I throw a question out there?
Yeah.
So I was looking at your inspection prices and
Mhm.
everything. I'm just curious, my sewage bill is roughly 500 a year. How much is this twice a year?
The service program, I believe it's 4 and change recently.
So about roughly to maintain.
Yes,
Okay.
to maintain, huh?
Not
And
bad.
I can get better pricing. It's adjusted version, and since I'm not full-time, I don't work with that part of it, but I can get those numbers. That'd be easy.
Mhm.
Happy to do that. Okay, next slide, please. Modern septic systems will have 2 compartment tanks. They're actually even more efficient. Again, back years ago, decades ago, when the guy in charge of the DEP said, until we have better tanks that will last longer, septic drain fields will fail sooner. This is part of having them to last longer, by having another compartment. So all this stuff that is digesting the sewage and separating, and that flows out. Now we have secondary settlement. So all of that stuff that's accumulating here now would have gone out to the drain field.
Is it still 1,000 in 2 compartments? Or
No,
that
now
happened
this would
was?
be a 1250
1250.
or 250, or it's that first one is 1,000 plus extra.
Got it.
Mm.
And that goes a long way toward extending the life of the drain field by
Mhm.
just making a better tank. It's come up with a better design, goes a long way. By the way, you said you have the septic system.
Yeah.
I've been authorized to provide anyone with septic systems 1 free bottle of check.
Wow.
Let's go.
Nice.
Show up. So we can show up, everybody.
Anybody else wants to do a septic, you get a bottle of that.
That's good. So I'm pretty sure I have a 1,500 and a 250,
Okay,
like a redundant system like that. So
nice.
I guess it'll tell me how much to put in here based upon it. So
Yeah, you can look on the site and you can insert. information.
and this, going back to what you were saying before, so I have a wife and a daughter that have a lot of hair, and it seems like,
Hair is always a problem.
so when you talk about like drain cleaners or like liquid plumbers,
Yeah.
right? Does that mess this system up?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So this would be a much better solution.
This is live bacteria that doesn't hurt the system, in fact, helps it to work better over a longer period.
Mm.
Certain drain cleaners.
Yeah, like I'm
are a
not
real
clogging the
problem.
drain.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Joel, why?
I'm not clogging the drain, but this would be like ideal, like just to talk about that even a little bit further.
Now, what this doesn't dissolve hair, but it does dissolve fats and grease that cause the hair to stick and all. The hair would then flow through.
So, but this would be, the ideal spot would be their shower that they use primarily.
Any and all drains in the house.
Yeah,
Sinks, showers, absolutely.
but yeah, so, but I would probably ideally start at theirs, because then it would flush, because theirs is the upstairs. We have
Yes.
the voids in the girls'
Yes.
bathroom, but start in that one and then let it drain through the system anyway, which would probably help. And then this way, you know, it's not gonna necessarily prevent clogs
No,
per se, but it'll definitely help to
And keep in
minimize.
mind, again, that live bacteria entering the tank helps to break down the sewage, fats and greases. It's
Amazing.
really, it's an amazing product. Little
Thank you.
Pac-Man.
We use you guys anyway, so
Oh, I
it's a double
appreciate that.
bonus.
Good deal. Glad to hear that. So, again, I can get you real numbers about that service program. It does a lot to extend life of the septic system. It helps for homeowners, it gives them less worry because someone is looking at it. And again, you get this mini report card every 6 months. How's it doing? Oh, we recommend you adjust this, bear that out.
Blindsided.
That's right, that's right. It goes a long way.
Hmm.
Just like most people have maintenance programs for a lot of the major systems. Septic system is a major system, to be sure. Next slide, please.
Excellent.
No,
And-
quick
and-
question with regarding to that, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Because now you're adding 250,
and sometimes you're adding 500, by the way. That second
So-
compartment is not necessary.
So understanding that, 250 is, 1250 is better than 1,000.
Yes,
How much of a difference, because people now is about money, of course, how much of a difference that 1,000 to 1,250 will be pricing wise?
it may be another 500,
Got it.
350 to 500, but 250 or 500 more,
Per
it's-
person,
Yeah,
right?
yes. Okay, so we have the wastewater is leaving the tank, going out through the outlet pipe by gravity flowing out the delivery pipe, entering the distribution box. That's the beginning of the drain field, where we have some kind of drainage pipes on top of a layer of drainage stone. Stone is coated with this bacteria coating that captures, like Pac-Man, capturing all the germs as it filters down through that. Then it enters. Typically, modern systems have a layer of sand that additionally filters. And if we look at the distribution box, this is a concrete distribution box. And a lot of contractors will use poly or plastic D-boxes. Now, again, we'll stick to concrete. It's heavy duty, can be buried deeply and last for a good long time. The poly isn't as strong and deflects quickly if you bury it too deeply.
Mhm.
Contractors like to use it because it's cheaper and they're not hitting their customers such a price, but every so many years you're replacing it because it's collapsing.
Mhm.
We do this and it lasts a good long time. So the wastewater from the tank comes out, hits the baffle, it's spread out. And these are just adjusters to adjust the flow. If it starts tipping or settling, you can open it and adjust it. And those are the laterals spreading out through the drain field, like so many fingers spreading through the drain field. And again, this is 2.5-inch thick concrete versus 4.5-inch thick. So we'll replace this every 20 years or so versus every 50 years or so.
Hmm.
But next slide, please. So sometimes, this is just an overall, we start our presentation that when we review with the customer, we like to explain that all the wastewater lines in the home are interconnected and the plumbing is connected through the walls to carry the fumes up and out through the root vent.
Mhm.
Sometimes when people are working in the yard, family party, cutting grass, whatever, what is that? It smells like sewage. The wind will carry down from the roof and that can happen, or from the neighbor's house. We have activated charcoal filters to go on that vent
Mhm.
if necessary. We have activated charcoal filters for every aspect of septic system. You got an odor, we got a filter for it. Remarkable. That's the business. So this is showing all the wastewater, whether you're taking a bath upstairs, doing dishes at the kitchen, laundry, it all goes out through a common waste line, enters a tank, 1 or 2 compartments, goes out to possibly 1 drain field, or there are properties with 2 drain fields. We have in West Windsor Township, they have diverter valves. The homeowners have a key in the garage. Many of them don't know what this is, the thing hanging in the garage. Our guys are eyeing, go, where's the key? What are you talking about? Here it is here. You put it in, switch it to the other drain field. They're living in the house 20-some years, never knew they should switch alternately between drain fields. So that drain field has been hit hard and doing badly. That drain field was never touched.
Never used.
So
Yeah.
instead of spending the money for a new one, turn the valve, brand new drain field, ready to go. West Windsor is ahead of its time. They're the only community that we know of that has that on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Separately, some communities have a distribution box used as a splitter box spreading into 2 drain fields. A D box with 2 pipes going out to drain field, and they both get an equal share of water and really spread it over a large area. You're talking on a property with a lot of acreage where people will do that, but it
Mhm.
lasts a good long time that way.
Mhm.
So we deal with all of these alternatives, and it's a part of an inspection to figure out what's there. First thing we do, of course, is get records from the town, so we have an idea of what we're looking at when we go into it.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go forward, please. And please, watch our timing. I don't want to overrun you, so.
Oh, you're okay.
You
We're
cut me short, and we'll stop and we'll go forward next, okay?
okay.
So the wastewater, sometimes if we have a distance to go or an uphill travel, we have a pump tank. So the wastewater before the drain field may come from the septic tank into the pump tank. We have a pump inside that has to be up on a pedestal, because sometimes that little sewage particulate coming in here will accumulate, and if the pump gets it, it's gonna pump that into the drain field. So we want to raise up above that then, and some pumps actually have built-in legs to be up above, but we always make sure that there's a pedestal. The off flow is when the liquid comes in, it goes up till it's high enough to lift the on flow, activate the pump, and it pumps a dose, whatever the dosage is set for, the engineer decides that. And if it doesn't activate the pump, it gets high enough to activate the higher alarm flow. And that sound, often it's in the house. Our guys will go in and show the homeowners, they'll test it and say, if you're the homeowner and you're in the kitchen or in the basement here, that's your alarm telling you that the pump is not working. It's good for them to know, what is that noise? What's going on? Again, sometimes it's outside, more often than not, it's in the basement or garage, wherever the electrical panel is typically is where that alarm is set. Our guys will check all of the electrical connections, test the floats, make sure things are working. And again, if the pump doesn't activate and the water gets high enough, that alarm will sound. If that doesn't happen and the water just keeps flowing, there's a big problem. Sometimes if there's electrical failure, the water will in fact get high enough. When our guys have to remove the pump, and they'll typically get replaced every 12 to 16 years, a pump. And they are expensive. They're $2,000 a hit every 12 to 15 years or so. But they'll disconnect that, pull it out, and have to put in a new one. And the pump makes all the difference in the world, obviously. But again, our guys doing an inspection will check the structural integrity of the tank, the baffles. Very often, for that reason, that inlet baffle is dropped off on the bottom, so the water is just spewing in there. And that's a common repair item. And again, we have a lid at the surface. Oh, I didn't mention when we were talking about the tanks. It's very important that those lids be properly secured shut. For the longest time, septic tanks had a concrete lid sitting on the surface that wasn't secured. Across the nation, on a regular basis, children fall into these tanks and drown.
Oh.
On a regular basis. I mean, dozens of children every year. It's very strict regulation that those lids have to be secured. They should be bolted. When we do inspections and find that those bolts aren't secure or it's too rusted, and often the pumpers will save time and they'll turn it and just put the bolts in, and it's not secured. They're just sitting because the pumper doesn't want to take time, and they're risking someone's life. That's a problem. Those lids must be secured. It's very important, and there are strict regulations. People will get fines. Certainly, I mean, not to mention, how would you feel if your neighbor's kid drowned in your? I mean, that's a problem. So that's very important. Okay.
That new ways to die.
Oh, seriously, that's just a horrible idea.
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of drain fields here, absorption areas. The easiest for contractors to do is dig a big hole, essentially kind of like digging a shallow swimming pool. It's wide, it's long, and it's only so deep, because under that we have a layer of gravel and a layer of sand. We put a layer of drainage stone. The next slide will show you that cross sections. But we have a disposal bed is liquid from the septic tank out to the distribution box, spreading between laterals and spreading out to the drain field. The better understanding for a lot of engineers, they think trenches are better because each one acts as its own separate drain field and they can spread it. It's all about acreage. How much room do you have to spread this wastewater out over a large area?
Mhm.
And the trenches are ideal, but that is a lot more involved. The contractor would rather dig a pit like this than that.
So it could be, right now, the way that this slide presents is it could be only one of those. Those three are not there. So,
Sometimes you have a combination.
got it.
It's
Hmm.
interesting because they'll have been this initially and then they'll add this after the fact,
Oh.
depending on what kind of, the only time we get seepage pits are a different animal in that it's basically a hole in the ground, similar to the old cesspools. But
Mhm.
again, keep in mind, the septic tank is collecting all the sewage, so only water is going in here
Right.
and draining
And then
into the
draining it
earth.
out. Mhm.
But the only time this can happen is if the water table is very deep. When we do soil testing, we literally have to determine that the water table will be 6 feet below the bottom of this 6-foot chamber. So we're talking about a 12
12
foot
feet.
or deeper water table that you allow seepage. You can't sit this in the water table.
Right.
But there are occasions, we find this along the Delaware River over in Hopewell Township and up in Bergen County fairly often. And these are equally mixed around in the communities. These days, more often than not, people will deal with disposal beds or drain fields, what they'll typically say. But they always have a tank in between. Don't think that these don't have tanks. They're always the septic tank and then the drain field.
Do you want to do 2 more slides?
Okay,
And it won't-
we can call it for now and we'll continue next week.
Yeah, well, we can do a couple more and then we'll
Oh,
do,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
we'll do
very
2
good.
more.
The septic code since 1990 is very clear about having at least a 10-foot separation between large trees, plants, big stem, bushes,
Hmm.
anything like that. Septic effluent, the water, the wastewater going in is like super miracle growth. Such a high nutrient content. The trees love this stuff and they are attracted into it. And God forbid we find people that plant trees and bushes on top of their drain field because they're like, here's this big empty area, let's do our plantings. And some people ask questions about gardens, vegetable gardens. And my ongoing joke to realtors is you put a vegetable garden there, the tomatoes get real big, they just taste a little funny. Sucking up those nutrients, you know?
That's gross.
Yeah, but honestly, 10 feet away is important. I've found, and I have a slide somewhere, actually, maybe next time I'll bring it, a picture showing you a picture where there's this whole big front yard in West Windsor. The people said, oh, that's perfect. Let's put a nice tree in the middle of that. They destroyed their drain field, putting a tree in the middle of their drain field because it was this wide open space. Like, the tank is here and we have ports showing the end of the drain field and like ask a question first before you do that. So I don't know how, I mean, when they were literally digging the hole to put the tree in, they must have destroyed lateral pipes to do that.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they don't have
like, somebody said, excuse me, really, why, what is all this plastic going on? Somebody stay quiet about something. I got an interesting photo I'll show you the next time. So next slide, please. Typical drain fields, again, we had the older style, didn't have all the sand underneath it, but since 1990, we have a layer of sand. We have ports that are present, and sometimes they're chopped by lawnmowers and eliminated. They're just there so a homeowner could open the cap and look down or measure and see how is that gravel layer draining?
Hmm.
How is the sand layer draining? Inspectors will use those ports to get information, but cannot be used as the determinant for an inspection. That's clear from the DEP. We can look and see because water could be held in that port because of clogging. That doesn't mean that the drain field isn't draining.
Hmm.
Separate inspection. What's going on in the ports, but how is the drain field operating? Again, a layer of gravel where everything trickles down and is captured by all these bacteria. And then it's finally filtered here and the water table is here. And with a pressure dose system, we have the pump that pumps out through a smaller pipe. Typically, the gravity pipe is 4-inch. Pressure dose is 2 or 1.5 inch, and it's like a sprinkler system underground, spraying down into the stone, pressure goes. When you do that, because it's under pressure, you can reduce the size of the drain field. Big differences there. With advantages from technology, you can get a reduction in the size of the drain field. And we'll get into, actually, there are reasons and ways we can reduce that big mound that our gentleman in the back, Mr. Miami Dolphins in the back, had concerns. He's not listening to me, but people that have concerns about drain fields, we have alternative technology that can reduce that method. Big differences in the code. Okay, maybe that's a good time to.
Yeah, that's a good
Very
time to
good.
stop. I think this was a really, really good presentation.
I appreciate your input. Certainly read through the paperwork we gave you.
Mhm.
Hit me with any and all questions. I'll be back next week, same
Mhm.
time, same chat.
I just want to ask, so when we're driving past a septic field and it looks like there's probably, you know, potentially like an underground bunker because they got the stacks coming out like 3.5 feet.
Yeah.
They don't really need to be that high. It could be.
No.
That's
On a
just-
regular basis, part of our maintenance program, whenever we visit a property or drive, we tell people, we can cut that down to, you can make it so that the lawnmower can go over without
Yeah.
happening. During construction, they'll put them up to alert the contractor, like, this is the drain field, don't mess it up.
Yeah,
After that, they should be chopped down and cut down, but homeowners don't know that.
yeah.
Mm.
They're really
Okay.
an eyesore.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have mine cut down and I always thought it was okay because it kind of made sense.
Now,
Like,
make sure you
what-
tap it,
yeah, it's capped and everything.
because leaves and grass will get in and clog.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I have all that, but I mean, there's like a couple of neighbors that I have and I'm like, what do you got going on there? It's like.
Knock. By the way, do you know that they can be cut down?
Yeah.
And
Space station
I
over there?
guess they're thinking like, yeah, it's an eyesore, but what am I gonna do? It's the.
I mean, at least paint green.
Right.
Okay, but you can cut them down.
No, I get it.
So,
Thank you.
absolutely, not a problem.
Did you guys have any questions online?
You have a pool, right?
Hmm?
Does that interfere with is yours in?
No, everyone's good.
So does
They
it
have to be a
interfere-
certain distance away.
Oh,
Yeah, because you can't put a septic system too close to the swimming pool.
Okay.
Yeah, the pressures underground are a concern, and
Okay. Well, he will be back next week, and then we will continue part 2 of this. Feel free to, come into the office haha.
How many people?
Well, there were a bunch of people. Everyone kind of just started jumping off.
oh, okay.
But all right, thanks a lot, guys. We will see you all here hopefully next week for part 2 of this great presentation. I do appreciate Tom coming in, giving us all his expertise,
Thank you
and
for your time.
this was great. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very important topic.